Long ago, two races ruled over Earth, humans and monsters. One day, war broke out between the two races. After a long battle, the humans were victorious. They sealed the monsters underground with a magic spell. Stop. Just stop. I thought humans couldn't use magic. What the flip, Toby? I've got to get to the bottom of this. While monsters are mostly made of magic, human beings are mostly made of water. Humans, with their physical forms, are far stronger than us, but they will never know the joy of expressing themselves through magic. Boom, there it is. Humans cannot express themselves through magic. Hurt, beaten, and fearful for our lives, we surrendered to the humans. 7 of their greatest magicians sealed us underground with a magic spell. What the heck? Alrighty, welcome everybody to my first ever theory. Let's get the elephant out of the room. I know I said I was going to make a theory about souls, but that video is going to be really long and intricate, and I want to make sure that I execute it just perfect. I came up with this theory while I was researching for that video, and I thought it was interesting enough to share. I might not execute this one perfectly, so let me know in the comments if there's anything I can improve on, because I want to get better at making these kinds of videos. But enough about that. Here's my theory on the origin of monsters and magic in Undertale. So, it seems pretty obvious at this point that the idea that humans in Undertale can't use magic is some sort of Mandela effect, because even though this one book claims that humans can't express themselves using magic, it goes on to state that they can't use magic specifically for bullets. The rest of the game heavily implies that humans have at least some capacity for magic, and that ability likely comes from their souls. Here's why. The waterfall signs say that the human magicians created the barrier, and in the True Lab, Alpha states that the barrier is locked by soul power. And the game heavily implies that the power of 7 human souls is the only way to destroy the barrier, which was created by 7 human magicians. Which, at least to me, is a dead giveaway that humans are able to use magic through their soul power. Okay, so humans can use magic confirmed. What does this have to do with monsters? Well, let's talk about something that's bothered me for quite some time. Monsters themselves. I mean, where do they come from? When you think of typical monsters in fiction, and I would assume most other people, think of like big, scary creatures, and yes, while some monsters in Undertale fit this description, most of them are like talking versions of regular animals. Goats, skeletons, rocks? I would assume that Undertale also has like normal versions of these things on the surface, so where along the evolutionary line was like half of the goat population just like, what if we started standing up and shooting fireballs? Also, what is it that groups all of these different beings into one species, the monster species? Well, there are 2 things that all monsters have in common. Number 1 is their ability to use magic, and number 2 is their monster souls. We know for a fact that monster souls give them their magical abilities through this line from the Snowden Library. Because they are made of magic, monsters' bodies are attuned to their soul. So if monsters are all made of magic, and are all based on some worldly thing or animal, is it possible that early human magicians created monsters? Hear me out. These humans, with the power to create life, made beings of pure magic, and gave them souls to harness that magic, similar to how the humans do. The monsters' physical forms were based on things the humans were familiar with, such as goats and whatnot. We also know that monsters are made of pure magic, so it would make sense for people who can use magic to have created them in the first place. The magicians also gave these monsters a way to defend themselves from hostile humans by giving them the ability to absorb a human soul, which makes them grow even more powerful. Or maybe that part was an accident? I'm not really sure. Regardless, the other humans would understandably fear these creatures and what they could be capable of if they decided to attack the humans. So the humans attacked first. They attacked suddenly and without mercy. Why did the humans attack? Indeed, it seemed that they had nothing to fear. Humans are unbelievably strong. It would take the soul of nearly every monster just to equal the power of a single human soul. Through this dialogue, it is clear that the monsters were at first peaceful creatures and did not wish to go to war with humans. But everyone fears what they don't understand, and honestly, I can't completely blame these humans either. Imagine tripping on like a rock when you're out hiking and it just starts like shouting at you. Now, I really like this theory, and I do think it has a lot of merit, but I can't end the video without tying up all loose ends, so it's time to talk about boss monsters. When a human dies, its soul remains stable outside the body. Meanwhile, a monster's soul disappears near instantly upon death. A boss monster's soul is strong enough to persist after death, if only for a few moments. There are only 2 monsters whose souls linger after death in-game and are therefore confirmed boss monsters. Toriel and Asgore's souls remain intact after their bodies turn to dust, before eventually shattering. I can assume that Azrael, being the child of 2 boss monsters, would have also been one. And technically we don't see Sans die, like he dies off-screen, so it's possible that he's a boss monster, but I'm gonna assume that he isn't because we hear him turn to dust, but we never hear the sound of a soul shattering. Gerson could also possibly be a boss monster, given that he's been alive as long as Asgore and has no confirmed children. But it hasn't been confirmed, so I won't be considering him for this video. So, if hypothetically, human magicians did create the monster race out of magic, then what led to the creation of boss monsters? Admittedly, I'm uncertain as to exactly why they were created, but I think the most likely option is that they were simply an experiment on how powerful a monster could become, or even an accident, a misuse of power by their creators. We see Asgore in the opening cutscene fully grown, and we know that boss monsters grow from birth until their fathers die, and then they stop aging until they have a child. For the purpose of this theory, it makes the most sense to conclude that Asgore and Toriel were created as fully grown adults, and due to their power, they were chosen to be the rulers of the monster race. Now that basically the whole theory is out there, it's time to talk about the in-game implications. Just to summarize, the humans had magicians who could wield magic, and they used that magic to create monsters out of pure magic. They gave them weaker souls which were inspired by human souls in order to harness their magic. Powerful boss monsters, Asgore and Toriel, were also created, but the humans feared the boss monsters specifically due to their nature of their more powerful souls. The humans attacked and beat the monsters. The magicians were forced to seal the monsters under a nearby mountain. It has been confirmed by Toby Fox that the saving and loading system, which obviously is more than just a game mechanic, is unique to the underground and does not exist on the surface. This means that the magicians who created the barrier to the underground also likely created the saving and loading system as a way to help other humans to survive if they fell underground. One important thing to note is that the human-monster war likely happened before the year 1500, due to the swords and spears that we see the humans wield. I've seen some people argue that maybe in the world of Undertale, humans still use swords and spears in the 2010s. But in the present day of Undertale, we see that humans have phones and guns and modern cars. So yes, the human-monster war likely happened before the year 1500, or maybe slightly after. Regardless, one important fact is the timeline of Azrael's birth. See, many people think that boss monsters just age really slowly, but that isn't true. They age just like normal, unless they don't have a father or a child. This makes sense because Asgore looks almost identical during the human-monster war as he does when we encounter him in at least the 2010s, although it's likely centuries later, as most monsters have never seen a human. The point is, Azrael dies when he's probably like 9 or 10, a bit after Kara fell down, which we know happened in the 2010s. This means that Azrael was born sometime in the 2000s, a lot later than some people think. But it makes sense. In the True Lab, we can access some VHS tapes, the earliest of which was recorded when Toriel was pregnant with Azrael. Now, VHS tapes were invented as early as the 1970s, but remember, the monster's only access to human technology is by what falls underground at the garbage dump. This means that a fully working VHS recorder and player likely wouldn't have fallen underground until such technology had been replaced and made obsolete, which happens to line up with our 2000s range of Azrael's birth. Now, that was everything I could find to support this theory, as well as the implications I could think of. But if you can think of anything else that can support this theory, be sure to comment it down below. If anything in this video was unclear, please leave a comment asking for clarity and I'll try to explain it better. Also, if you have any criticisms or nitpicks, I would be glad to hear those as well. I try my best to make my theories airtight, but it's very possible I missed a small piece of dialogue that could completely disprove my theory. Just be sure to keep it civil down there. I want to give a huge thanks to Vel for joining the squad. You too can join the squad for just $1 a month. You get shouted out at the end of every video, you get cool emotes and other cool perks, so check it out if you're interested. But if not, I still want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning into my theory. Your guys' continual support allows me to continue making videos I love and that you guys enjoy. Join my Discord if you want updates on future videos or just to say hi, but I'll see you all in the next video. Peace!